Welcome back to Intentional Youth Ministry. I want to take a moment today and talk to you a little bit about taking care of your leaders, right? I know a lot of times in youth ministry, our focus is so heavy on the students that we've been called to pastor and to lead, and that is great. But can I tell you, the health of your student ministry, the health of your students, your overall effectiveness is all really tied back into how well you take care of your leaders, because the health of the leaders is really in a large way going to determine the health of the young people in your ministry. So I just want to take a moment and encourage you guys to make sure that you're taking care of your leaders. How do you do that? You know, I think in the early years of youth ministry, I was very focused on like, hey, I have to, make sure that I'm investing leadership stuff and teaching them. And so honestly, in the beginning, I feel like I probably killed my volunteers and my leaders, I should say, with meetings, because we were doing these constant, consistent meetings, and every month, because I felt like I had to constantly just be like investing leadership and investing. And I'm not saying those things aren't valuable, but here's what I started to learn, at least in our context, the church I was at, was we offered so much stuff for our adults. They were attending weekend services, and we said, hey, we want you to get involved in a small group for yourself. And we had like our own kind of growth track that we would encourage all of our leaders to participate in. So they were being discipled, they were being invested in spiritually and learning and growing in their knowledge already. So I felt like for me to do that, I was just kind of being redundant. And what I started to do is I kind of flipped the script a little bit, and I started to go, okay, they're already getting this like good content, good material, biblical foundation, leadership development. What do they need from me? So what we did was we got really intentional about investing in them relationally. So instead of doing a monthly meeting where it was always 2 or 3 hours of content and me feeling like I had to teach them everything, what I started to do was to shift the focus a little bit, and we started to do more of these relationally kind of driven things. So it started to look like for us, and it shifted and adjusted over time, but I think a happy place that we kind of landed, a good place, was I would probably do a once a quarter, just a fun relational outing. We'd go out and do a progressive dinner. We'd come over to my house and do a barbecue. We'd go do something kind of fun, go up to a Dave and Buster's and just hang out for the night. So I started doing these fun, relational driven things with my team, probably once a quarter. And then probably in between that, so probably again, 4 times a year, we would do some kind of meetings, but they would be more intentional and practical. And I would start to actually engage my leaders and how they could help and be a part of what we were doing. So that helped us. The other thing I'll tell you is this, in this idea of taking care of your leaders, also there may come a point, some of you may be at this point now, where span of care will become an issue for you. So I got to a point where, truth be told, at the time, probably in our student ministry we got to a point where we were probably running close to 200 students in our student ministry. And I had probably about 25 adult leaders at that time. And I had probably about 50 or so student leaders. And so I got to a point where I was like, holy cow, like I can't do this. How can I effectively pastor 200 students and 25 adult leaders and 50 student leaders effectively? And the answer was I couldn't, and neither can you, right? We all have lids, we all have capacity. I don't care how high of a caliber or capacity leader you are, there's gonna come a point where you can't effectively pastor all the people that are underneath of your care. So what happened for us was I started going, okay, how can I be more intentional about pastoring my leaders and really the students that God has called me to pastor? And there came a season where I had to step back for a season from some of the youth ministry stuff that I was doing and saying, hey, I can't focus so much on the students right now, because if I don't focus on my leaders, I'm going to limit my lid and my capacity to be able to reach more students and young people. So here's what we did, and I found it to be super effective, was I handpicked for my adult leaders. For my 25 adult leaders, I found 5 of them who were solid, who were a little more spiritually mature, who I saw stronger leadership potential in. And I met with them individually and I said, hey, I want to pull you in as one of my adult leader coaches, is what we call them. And we had a coaching structure we were starting in some of our small group world in our church. And so I had these adult coaches. And basically what I did was I then just started meeting with these 5 adult leaders consistently. I would still do the fun relational outings once a quarter with all of my leaders, and we would do some bigger things. But all the one-on-ones and the really investing in was in these 5 adult leaders. And I would pour into them, and each of them then would go and they'd be connecting the other 4 or 5 adult leaders each on our team and be kind of connecting with them weekly and pouring into them and connecting with them. You get the idea. Did the same thing with our student leaders. So again, I told you we had about 50 student leaders at the time. So to start with, I think I found like 10 or 12, and I handpicked them, student leaders who were already part of our student leadership program, who were a little bit more mature spiritually, who were good relationally, and I handpicked them, same thing. And I started to really invest in those 12 student leader coaches and spent time with them. I started taking them on a yearly retreat with just them. And I was just really investing heavily into them. And each of them had 3 to 4 student leaders that they were then investing in. And then our adult leaders and our student leaders beyond that were really investing in the students. And so you kind of get why this is such a valuable thing. So I think it's so important that we take care of our leaders as a pastor, as a ministry director, ministry lead, whatever your title is. Man, we also have a responsibility to take care of the leaders that God has entrusted us to do it with. And I'll encourage you with this. No, you can't do it alone. God didn't create Lone Rangers in the ministry. We all need other people to accomplish the calling that God has on our life. So let's make sure that we're taking care of the leaders that He's entrusted us with as well. Love you guys. Take care, and we will see you next time on the next episode of Intentional Youth Ministry.